Welcome back everybody to Concetina's Cucina. Today we are going to be making a very famous Italian breakfast, and it's called Frittata, which is an Italian style omelette. So what you will be needing today is, if you like this selection of vegetables, I'm going to be using about half a zucchini, 4 mushrooms, half of that pepper, and about a quarter of that onion. It's quite large. And then 4 eggs, and if you like, you can always put egg whites into that to make it a little bit healthier. This should serve about 4 people. Also, some utensils that you'll need are a chef's knife, a paring knife, a whisk, and a frying pan and a plastic spatula. I like to fry it up, saute it in a nice high quality olive oil, and I like to use sea salt. So those are some of the items. You can add pepper, you can add garlic pepper into that. If you don't like this selection of vegetables, you're very welcome to choose a different selection. So let's start out. We want to first wash all our vegetables, get all those fertilizers and everything off. I have a colander here that I like to use so that the water will just drain away. And I'm gonna get cold water, and I'm just gonna rinse everything with that cold water, again, just to get all of the germs and fertilizer off of there. And of course, I wanna wash my hands properly. So, oops. You want to wash your hands for a minimum of 20 seconds. And if you could sing the happy birthday song twice, I like to get in between my fingers on the wrists. And just make sure that you are not under running water while you let that soap kill all those germs. And always dry your hands so that way your knife doesn't slip, and then obviously you could accidentally injure yourself. So I use this for my hands. You might want to have a specific towel set aside that you use just for your hands and not your dishes. We don't want to, of course, cross-contaminate. So I'm going to show you how to cut this onion up properly. We are going to dice it. So we want to take the end off and then the other side, and you're going to do that carefully. And then we want to peel it so that we get all of that dry skin off of it. And we can see that wonderful onion underneath those layers. And once you've got it all done, this is all going to go into our wonderful compost bin, but I just have a little plate set aside here so that it just makes it easier for us to put it aside. So next, I want to have a stable flat surface when I'm chopping up anything that's round. So I'm going to cut it in half first, just like that. And you can see that we now have it stable. It's not rocking, and it minimizes the just the chance of injuring us and cutting us. I'm gonna cut it into another quarter here. So 1/2 and 1/4. And now we're ready to dice it up and chop it up. So I like to just cut it like that vertically, and then it's ready for us to get it diced up. I use the claw method, and that ensures that the knuckle is protecting your fingers from accidentally getting cut. And I move my hand back as I dice, as I chop my onion up. And you can always just take that flat side down again if it starts to get a little cumbersome, and chop it up finely. And again, you can see that my fingers are tucked in and I am not anywhere near the blade. Once I'm done with that, I'm just gonna place it into one of my little plates that I have set aside here. And once all my vegetables are cut, then I'm ready to put everything into my pan. So I'm just going to use half of that zucchini. Again, you can use full zucchini if you like. If I were going to cut this up the way that I like to do it, I go in quarters again, just like that. And then I slice it just like that. And when you are using your knife, you want to make sure that you're holding on to the knife properly and always moving your fingers away from the blade, just like so. And then those are going to be into my next dish. Next, I'm going to do the same thing with the mushrooms in half, make it stable so that it's not rocking, and then slice it up. For my pepper, in half, remove the seeds, put it into my compost. That half I'm gonna save for later. And I like to cut it from the inside just because from the outside, it's a little bit more cumbersome to go through that tougher skin layer. I'm just going to dice these up carefully, keeping my fingers clear as I cut through those. And I'm just gonna put those in with the zucchini because I'm gonna actually end up putting them all in together. So we're gonna put that there. Vegetables are now cut and I'm going to get my eggs ready. So I'm gonna have a different bowl for the eggs. And like I said, this is going to serve about 4 people. So I'm going to use 4 eggs. I'm going to show you how to properly crack the egg. If shell ends up in my bowl, don't worry about it. Just fish it out. It's not a big deal. Okay? So you want to get it to crack the egg in half, just like so. And then we use our thumbs and our fingers to open it up. And I always take all that white out of there. High protein content, really good, low fat. And again, I'm just fishing out all of the egg white as I do that. One more to go. You could always make half of this if you only have 2 people. You can add cheeses into this. Parmesan cheese is always good to have in here as well. You grate it up. And now I'm just gonna whisk it. And this is where if you wanted to add some pepper and some salt to it, add a little bit of pepper and salt. How much? A few shakes should do it for everything. And again, you wanna taste it after you're done and just see if you wanna add any more. I would start out with probably about 1/4 teaspoon, half a teaspoon of salt, maybe 1/4 teaspoon of pepper. So I'm gonna whisk it, and that's gonna get these eggs nice and light and fluffy. The whisk is actually incorporating some air into it. And once you have it whisked, you're basically ready to go over to your frying pan, and let's get that frying pan heated up with some olive oil. And now we're ready to get our olive oil ready in the pan. So I'm just gonna show you that it does need a bit. So this is gonna be 3 tablespoons of good quality extra virgin olive oil. And I'm ready to get my onions in the pan. Now I have a gas stove, so I'm just gonna pop that on now. And it's gonna start to heat up. And then I'm gonna add my onions. And the reason why I add the onions first, and I want them to cook for a little while, is it actually sweetens them up when they start to get cooked. So in sauteing it, so I'm just gonna give them a little spin here, a little turn, so that they get coated in olive oil. And as they fry up, they sweeten. And if you wanted to kind of gauge how long they would take, is I actually wait until they're transparent. So they start to get that nice little golden color around them and they start to become translucent. And we're just gonna wait for that to happen. So that's been about 4 to 5 minutes now. I had it at a medium to high temperature to start. And as I've been watching them become translucent, I reduced my heat a bit just so that they didn't start to burn. Now it's ready for me to add my other vegetables. So I'm gonna add my mushrooms, and I'm gonna add my zucchini and peppers, or whatever you have decided that you would like in here. And we need to let these soften up now. So I'm gonna get them to the point where they're kind of wilted. I'm gonna add a little bit of salt. So just a sprinkling, about a quarter of a teaspoon, because we've already put a little bit into our egg mixture. And we're gonna let this saute now. As you can see, the oil is very light, just coating them lightly, enough to give it flavor and not sticking. And I'm gonna keep it at about a level 4. And we're gonna be back when it starts to look like it's ready for us to add those eggs. Okay, so these vegetables are nice and wilted, right? We have them sauteing now for about 7 to 8 minutes, and we're ready to add our egg mixture into it. So I'm just gonna give them another little whip, get that air, get them fluffy, and I'm just gonna pour that right over top. So that's the difference with the Italian version of an omelet. We actually just pour the eggs right over top of the vegetables. Now, you will be really tempted to want to make it more like a scrambled egg, but we want to actually just be gentle. And I move some of the egg away so that it can cook nice and evenly. So we're actually going to let this cook for a few minutes now. And we want it to turn a nice golden color. So we'll be back with that to show you what it's going to look like in just a few minutes. Okay, so now we're ready to give it a little flip. Because it's such a large frittata, if it was smaller, I could probably do it all in one flip, but it is a little bit larger. So I'm just gonna section it out, and I'm going to flip the sections individually. And that is the color that you want your frittata, that nice golden color. And if you were going to add any cheese, I would highly recommend to do it now, because you're done flipping it. That is giving the bottom part now a chance to golden up. And if, again, you're going to add the cheese, now's the time. We're going to let it melt, and then you're going to be ready to serve it. So we'll be back in just a minute with that. All right, so now we've got the other side golden. You're ready to serve it. These are pretty big slices. You could always cut it down into even smaller slices. And you're ready to serve this for anything between breakfast, brunch. You could even make a dinner meal out of that. You can make a nice surprise breakfast brunch for your family, your friends, anything that really you desire in terms of an egg type meal. So I hope you enjoyed today's lesson on making a perfect frittata Italian style, and I hope to see you next time. Enjoy.